So Pcsp sent me an Octominer with 12 of these 470s in it. Now, I remember when I was talking to my representative, I asked him to basically just send me one of these so I could take a look what's in it. And he's like, nah, we'll just send you 12 in the case. So I said, okay. And I didn't realize that they were mining specific GPUs. I should have looked. And you can watch me set these up like a Jenga board, because why not? And, you know, as we know, basically for crypto mining, unless you have like free power, basically like 3 cents or under, these are not worth mining on. Now, if you do buy these, and they're definitely worth it. But for me, I don't know what I'm going to do with these things. And then I had the idea, how hard would it be to take this GPU and turn it into a gaming GPU? Now, I was already starting this video before I got these in. And once I got them in, when I saw the back plate, my hopes and dreams kind of died. And then, thankfully, I saw this. And I was like, oh my goodness, is this a dead HDMI port? And then I opened one up, and I realized that it wasn't. So I realized that my dream was not dead. So I want to take you on this journey that turned out to be way more difficult than I thought. And I don't know if I would have did it, hindsight being 2020. So without further ado, let's get to it. And I want to share with you the second part of my taking mining GPUs back from the miners to the gamers, giving a new lease on life on these RX 470s. So for more content like this, please make sure you hit that like button and that sub button, and let's get to it. These don't fit. You try to put these on here, and they whack the stupid plastic Strix plate on the motherboard. So I basically thought about digging into my spare parts and just building a PC for it, but that's more work than I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this off, and I'm going to see if I can get these gaming. Alright, I plugged it in. The angle is not good, but I've seen GPUs with way worse sag. So let's see if it boots. It's giving me the AAA light, but thankfully I know it hasn't posted into Windows yet because the software hasn't started. I really love the Deepcool AK400, guys. I just can't say enough good things about it. Okay, so Windows has started up, and I have no picture. So maybe it's either a BIOS issue, or maybe it's too slanted. Let me try to see if I can hold it the right way, and that will help. Alright, so after BIOS flashing one of these, plugging it in my bench, wondering why the HDMI port didn't work, trying a second one, then being confused, and then Googling it, I found something awesome. From multiple YouTubers, I'll link them down below. I don't have the names right in front of me, but I realized that this HDMI port is not soldered on. So there are actually two options. The easy option is I can probably set this up with like a Windows desktop, that I can set it where you can force the display to go out of the iGPU, and then you can game on this. I actually think that will work, and it is something that I am going to try with another one of them. But the more fun option is I figured out, well, I saw a YouTube video that explained it to me. If I solder these traces together, that this HDMI port will work. So I'm obviously going to take time out of my busy jam-packed life to solder this $20 GPU. Pcsp has it for $20 to game on it, because why not, right? And actually, it has a fan connector, so I could probably just like screw some fans into the heatsink, or as you've seen me do before, and make it work that way too. So I have lots of options here, and I'm not gonna lie, I am way more excited for this than I should be. So I'm pretty sure that I can do this pretty easily. So basically right here, all I have to do is just run solder between all of these traces. So that it seems like I could do it with like my $12 Amazon soldering iron and not my really expensive soldering heat gun. So we're gonna turn it on and we're gonna try to do this. Honestly, the worst case scenario is I botched the repair and I botched the card, and I don't care. So let me go do this. I don't think it's worth filming. Let's go solder it. So this $13 Amazon soldering gun definitely doesn't do the job. If I had a better one, it would have taken way faster. This probably took like an hour to do when it should have taken like 10 minutes. I even broke out the expensive hot air gun and it didn't help because I didn't need it. You can kind of see here, I had it, but I popped one of the, I basically broke one of the connectors, and then I was going to have to dig into the PCB, and I didn't feel like doing it. And by then I kind of learned all I needed to know. So this one is botched, and it does not work at all. So that's okay. Uh, I mean, it still works to mine, I guess. But hey, second time's a charm, and I had 12 of these, so I was ready to go to town. It shows it's an RX 470, so now I should probably go flash a better BIOS into this. But it works, so that's fun. Ta-da! I present to you a working RX 570 that I'm going to flash into a 580. I don't know if you can see it here under the light, but I was able to bridge the pins to make this HDMI port work, and I chopped a hole to make the HDMI port work. Now, this is only going to work in 1080p, but I don't think you're going to use one of these for 1440. So I'm going to go I'm actually going to go load up the drivers, make sure this BIOS isn't wonky, and I'm going to stress test it, and then I'm going to try to game on this stock BIOS, and I'm going to flash it to an RX 570 BIOS. All right, so after way too much time, I did find a BIOS that got it off the mining BIOS, and I still couldn't get it to run in the PC. It basically kept giving me a code 43. I found this Reddit thread, and I found a patch for it. Now, I don't think I would have recommended just downloading some random patch, but this is my test bench. I hate to say it, but it worked for me too. Google Foo is real. I was at my wit's end. I looked at so much stuff on this thing, and it works. Now it's showing up as an RX 470 series. I have a 580 BIOS or 570 BIOS on it. I tried to run it on Haven without fans, and it got way too hot. So I'm going to strap some fans onto this. I have so much time spent on this at this point, I'm not going to stop. And I do realize that theoretically, if I was doing this like the right way, aka if I was going to sell this, that I should have jumped when I replaced these. Instead of jumping the joints, I should have used a resistor. I mean, I'm never going to game on this long term. And I could also just take these resistors off this one, put it on there. I don't know. Maybe I will. Probably not. But that is something to consider. So let me go strap some fans on this, and I'll be back. The finished product. So here was my thoughts, right? If a 1660 Super only needs one fan to cool it, why does an RX 470 need two? So basically, I tried to get this fan right under the memory and the GPU. Whether I succeeded or not is another story. I just removed the fan, the little connector, so that the plug, the fan plug would fit. And it will control the fan speed. I did test it already before I plugged it in because I didn't want to scream in the camera. So this is done. All right, so this little guy has been going for about 2 hours on the bench. I'm having no issues. Everything is hitting where it needs to hit. I think we are good to go to game. Now the fan is on about I think the fan is at 71%, so it's not that loud. But it's definitely interesting that you really only need one fan to keep this thing cool. So now I'm going to go play a few games on it. And all right, guys, so you can see me playing right here. I did a test on the benchmark, and the benchmark gave me about 76 FPS. Now, I've already played a game with this with the big MSI where they put the overlay on to see the CPU usage and the GPU usage, and everything's working well. I'm getting about 89 to 100 FPS. It's upscaled. It definitely feels playable. I honestly don't, I don't have any issues or spiking. I just want to show you kind of how I'm playing. I don't want to put upscale, or I don't want to put OBS on this or anything, as I just don't think it'll work without killing the frames. It's dipping to about the mid 70s. I'm not noticing any lag. I'm playing on hardcore. I haven't played in forever, so I'm kind of doing terrible. I'm just gonna play like a few more, if I die or not, a few more rounds. I don't even know what to call it anymore. I don't really play Call of Duty anymore, but the point is like, I just want to show you this. And this map is weird. I don't know what they did to this thing. Like it's a normal map. It's just got a lot of weird glow effects on it, which actually probably is taxing the GPU a little bit. So it's good to see that I'm not seeing any lag. I mean, I don't really, the 1% lows don't really seem too bad. Just smoked that dude and then got smoked. So yeah, look, it's doing well. I mean, the temperatures are holding at about 61 degrees. You can't hear the fan. It is really, really quiet. I mean, I've played with my 4090 at 75 degrees before. I definitely, I would play on this thing. So I do also want to state that it is paired with my test bench, which is a 5800X3D. And this is using a gigabit BIOS. I might try to change the BIOS around to see if I can improve the frames. Next kill death, I'm going to shut this one off. But like, I definitely don't notice any problems with COD. So we're going to go to Helldivers now. Alright, so I am playing Helldivers. It's not going too well. I'm actually playing with a friend, and I'm getting about 60 FPS at low settings. So it's low presets with the second lowest upscaling. And my loadout is terrible, so this isn't doing me any favors. And I'm getting my butt kicked because I haven't played in forever. Now, I understand Helldivers is mostly CPU bound, and I have a 5800X3D paired with this, but overall, 64 FPS is pretty darn good when you consider you're only getting like 30-ish with the 1050 Ti. And with the popularity of Helldivers 2, it's nice that you can crack the 60 FPS barrier on the RX 470. Cyberpunk 2077 is next. Alright, you guys can see Cyberpunk 2077. Now, it's on all low settings, and performance on FSR 2.1. Now, the only thing I have that's high is people and details, because I care about the realism. The graphics are fine. I'm just sniping cars to just see if I can get the police to come out. And I think I got them. Obviously, the city, it looks decent. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it looks amazing, but it's definitely playable. I'm just trying to get the cops to come and see if I can I don't know. Anyway, I'm holding at about 64 FPS right now. So that's not terrible. It definitely feels playable, which is pretty impressive for a $20 GPU. Now, obviously, I put work into it to make it $20, to make it more than 20 bucks, but it definitely is not bad. I got 12 more shots. I'm going to fire those. Then we're going to call it. GPU's holding at 62 F. Now, look, I know 62 CME. Now, I do understand that this is 1080p, and it's a lot of CPU performance to do with it, but like, This is the test bench that I have, and it's actually pretty impressive. Sorry, I'm trying to fight this guy. I do like the new patches that they put in this game. It's definitely a lot better than the old ones. I'm probably dead. Trying to not die here. Oh, nope, I'm dead. Good night. Alright, so that's it for my game testing. We covered the multiplayer staples like COD, the single-player high-end demanding games like Cyberpunk 2077, and newer co-op games like Helldivers 2, and in every game it beat or exceeded the 60 FPS mark. This RX 570. So, I spent 2 days doing this basically, you know, from getting it basically from this right here, the stock mining GPU, to this, whether it was, you know, getting the HDMI port working via crudely soldering it together, to cutting the back plate apart to access the HDMI port, to drilling a fan into the heatsink safely, like it's not going anywhere, and I gamed on it for probably about an hour, give or take. To BIOS modding it, which it was hitting, as you saw in Cyberpunk, it was definitely hitting the boost clocks that it was meant to hit. So, was it worth it? The answer is obviously not. Look, if you're really, really hard up, I would say if you were really looking hard, you could probably find an RX 580 8 gigabit for 50, maybe 60 bucks if you're lucky. Now, if that $40 really does matter and you have access to a soldering iron, you know, a lot of people do. They're only like, you can get them pretty cheap. And, you know, you can either strap, say, you can do something like this where you just strap case fans on. This is that 3080 that I have where you just zip tie case fans on. You probably only need to zip tie one on here, or you know, you can find a way to get a fan. I mean, you can buy these fans, I think, for about $5. If you wanted to do it, I mean, I think this would only take, if I did this again, this solder job, it would probably only take 10 minutes maybe. And theoretically, I should have used the resistors, as you can see right where my finger's pointing. But I don't care that much, and you know, maybe you don't either. But the point is, like, if that $40 really, really, really made a difference, you could probably do all of this in about, I don't know, maybe an hour's worth of work. And like I said, this fan, you could probably get this for $5 and just drill it into the heatsink. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. And, you know, finding that patch to get, the biggest problem was getting this thing to read on the system, and it was downloading that patch. I can put a Reddit link to that patch, and I'm going to advise you not to use it, not to install it, but I will send you the link to, you know, the link to that site. So, I mean, honestly, this was a fun experiment. I did enjoy it. I don't think it's worth doing, but if you are really, really hard up for money, and that, you know, that $40 to get, you know, 40 or 50 bucks to get one of these on RX 588 gig really matters, might as well get this. An interesting note though, it was every time I BIOS flashed it, it still would say 470/480. So I don't know why that was, and it was a little bit annoying to find Hynix BIOS mods. So that is something to consider. But if you're buying one of these and trying to turn it into a gamer, you probably already know that, or you're watching this video and I'm telling you that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I am keeping this GPU. This will be fun to mess around with in the future. You know, this is the second one we've taken back from the miners to the gamers. Now, I saw some articles online where apparently a lot of people during the GPU shortage were doing this with these GPUs and trying to find them cheap and turning them into gaming GPUs, and it was probably worth it back then. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. This was fun. Was it worth it? Probably not. But, you know, like I said, I needed to find something to do with all 12 of these RX 470s I had. Stay tuned for what I decide to do with the rest of them in other videos. Please like and sub. Thank you for watching. Krootman out.